When we landed back home, it felt like nothing had changed. The smell of my mum's lavender candles hit me the moment I stepped through the front door, and I could hear the hum of my dad's old stereo from the living room, the same one he refuses to replace, even though it skips every third song. My sister, Emily, was somewhere out meeting caterers and florists, getting everything perfect for her wedding that was now just a few days away. I looked over at Mark, my boyfriend of 6 years, as we dropped our luggage by the stairs. He smiled, that easy, confident smile that always seemed to ground me. "Feels weird being back, huh?" he said, his voice low. "Yeah," I laughed softly. "We haven't been home in over a year. Feels surreal." My mum came bustling out of the kitchen, apron still on, hands dusted with flour. "There's my girl," she cried, wrapping me in a hug so tight I could barely breathe. Then she hugged Mark, too, calling him her favorite son-in-law. It was a joke she'd made for years, but this time, I caught Mark's tiny smirk at the word waiting. We'd been together since college, 6 years of late nights, moves across states, new jobs, and shared bills. I thought we were solid. Everyone did. That first day, everything was normal. Dinner was loud, full of stories, laughter, and wedding chatter. Emily didn't get home until after 9. She came in with her hair up, still wearing her bride mode hoodie, holding her phone in one hand and a coffee in the other. When she saw me, her face lit up. "Finally, you're here," she squealed, throwing her arms around me. "I can't believe you made it. I've been dying for you to help me with the final fitting tomorrow." "Of course," I said, smiling. I'd missed her more than I realized. We'd always been close, talking every day since I moved away to Anaheim with Mark. She turned to him next, offering a polite smile. "Hey Mark, long time," he grinned. "Hey, Em, ready for the big day?" They exchanged a few quick words, nothing special. Or maybe it was, and I just didn't know how to hear it yet that night. As I unpacked, I felt a kind of peace I hadn't in months. Family, home, the soft hum of my parents talking downstairs. I fell asleep thinking the week would be full of joy, wedding prep, sister time, family dinners. Monday morning came bright and busy. Emily was already up, pacing around the kitchen on the phone. "No, the florist said they can move delivery to Thursday," she said, waving her hand at me in a distracted hello. Mark came down wearing the same hoodie he'd worn on the plane, his hair still messy from sleep. He sat across from her at the breakfast table. "You look tired," he said casually, smiling. Emily laughed. "That's what happens when you're about to get married. No rest for the bride." It was harmless. At least, it seemed that way. But as the morning went on, I noticed something small but sharp. The way his eyes lingered when she talked. The way her laugh softened when he spoke. Maybe I was imagining it. They barely knew each other. After lunch, Emily mentioned she had to meet her wedding planner in Brooklyn. "It'll take an hour, maybe 2, she said. Mark perked up. "Brooklyn. There's a used game store there I've been meaning to check out. Mind if I tag along?" I smiled at how easygoing he sounded. It wasn't weird. Not really. So I just said, "Sure, go ahead." They left together around 1. When they got back, I was sitting on the couch, scrolling through photos of Emily's wedding dress on my phone. Mark dropped down beside me, grinning, and kissed my cheek. "Find everything you wanted?" I asked. "Yeah," he said. "Cool place." Emily nodded from the doorway, her face unreadable. Traffic was awful, though. We barely made it back in time. I noticed it then, the faint scent of her perfume clinging to his hoodie. Sweet, floral, the one she always wore. I brushed it off, telling myself it was just from her car, that night. When everyone was asleep, I lay awake listening to the quiet house. For some reason, my mind replayed every glance, every smile, every word between them. It wasn't jealousy. It was unease. Something that didn't have a name yet. The next morning, things felt different. Subtle, but off. Emily and Mark sat next to each other at breakfast, laughing over something on her phone. My mum noticed it too. She shot me a smile, whispering, "It's nice they're finally getting along." I smiled back. Yeah, nice. But inside, I felt something twist later that day. I walked past the guest bathroom and heard muffled laughter from the other side. Emily's voice, Mark's. I froze. They came out seconds later, laughing about something I couldn't hear. When they saw me, they stopped instantly. Emily's smile faltered. "Oh, hey. We were just talking about the seating chart." Mark cut in quickly. I nodded slowly. "Okay." I tried not to let it show, but my pulse was hammering. That night, when I crawled into bed beside him, he kissed me softly as if nothing had happened. His eyes were kind, his voice gentle. But his scent, that same perfume, lingered again. I closed my eyes, pretending sleep would wash the unease away. By the third day, I knew something was wrong. I just didn't know how deep it went yet. By Wednesday morning, the air in the house felt heavier. Everyone was trying to stay cheerful with the wedding only 3 days away. But underneath all the laughter and chatter, something had shifted, something only I seemed to feel. At breakfast, I noticed how quiet Emily was. She kept her eyes on her coffee cup, stirring it even though the spoon had started to clink against the side. Mark sat across from her, pretending to scroll through his phone. But I could feel the tension bouncing between them like static. Every time I looked at one, the other would look away. "Big days getting close," Dad said, trying to lighten the mood. "You ready to walk down that aisle, Em?" Emily gave a quick smile. Almost, I forced a smile too, even though I felt my stomach twist. The lightness that had filled the kitchen when we first arrived was gone. The silence between them was too pointed, too rehearsed after breakfast. I pulled Mark aside while Mum and Dad were out back talking to the caterer. "You and Emily, okay?" I asked. He frowned. "Yeah, why?" "You both seem weird." "I don't know, distant." He laughed, but it sounded flat. "You're imagining things, babe. She's just stressed about the wedding." "Maybe," I murmured, watching his face. He leaned in and kissed my forehead. "Relax, okay? Everything's fine." It wasn't. That afternoon, I helped Emily pack gift bags for her bridesmaids. We sat in her childhood room, surrounded by pastel ribbons and tissue paper, the scent of her perfume filling the air. She seemed jumpy, checking her phone, tapping her fingers against the bed frame. I tried to act normal. "So," I said lightly, "you and Mark seem to have finally bonded, huh?" She froze for a fraction of a second before replying. "Yeah, I guess so. He's easy to talk to." Her voice was calm, but she didn't look at me. I smiled, trying to sound casual. "Good, he's been quieter since we got here. Maybe he just needed a friend." She nodded without meeting my eyes. "Yeah, The silence that followed was deafening. That night, after everyone went to bed, I lay awake again. The house was dark, the faint sound of crickets coming through the window. I turned over, expecting to feel Mark beside me, but the space was empty. At first I thought maybe he'd gone to the bathroom. I waited. A few minutes passed. Nothing. I got up quietly, heart pounding. When I opened the door, I nearly ran into him, standing right there in the hallway. Shirt half tucked in, eyes wide like a deer caught in headlights. Jesus. You scared me, I whispered. He swallowed hard. Sorry, I just threw something in the garbage outside. In the middle of the night. He nodded, avoiding my eyes. Yeah, I couldn't sleep. That's when I smelled it again. Her perfume, sweet and sharp, too strong to be a coincidence. He brushed past me and went straight to the sink, washing his face, brushing his teeth. I stood there, frozen, trying to quiet the noise in my head. The next morning, I told myself to stop overthinking, to stop ruining what was supposed to be a happy week. But every time I caught them in the same room, my stomach knotted. Emily couldn't meet my eyes anymore. She kept her distance, always finding excuses to leave when I entered a room. And Mark was trying too hard to act normal, touching my shoulder when he spoke, kissing my temple in front of others, laughing louder than usual. It all felt performative, forced. By the afternoon, I couldn't take it anymore. I asked Emily if we could talk privately. She hesitated, then nodded. We went to the backyard where the wedding arch was half decorated with flowers. So, I began carefully. Is there something going on that I should know about? Her brow furrowed. What do you mean? I don't know, I said softly. You and Mark, you've been acting. Off. Her eyes darted away. We're not. What are you implying? Nothing, I said quickly. I just want to know if everything's okay. You've been weird since that trip to Brooklyn. Her lips parted, but she didn't say anything. After a long pause, she whispered, everything's fine. I promise. Then she turned away, heading back inside before I could say another word. That night, I couldn't sleep again. My thoughts spun faster than I could catch them. Around 11:30, Mark shifted beside me. I felt him sit up slowly, careful not to wake me, so I stayed still, breathing evenly. Pretending to be asleep, I heard him whisper my name once, twice. When I didn't respond, he got out of bed. The floor creaked softly under his steps as he crept toward the door. The second the latch clicked, I sat up. Every part of me screamed not to follow, to just lie down, to stop. But I couldn't. I waited a few seconds, then opened the door. The hallway was dimly lit by the nightlight from the bathroom across the hall. And that's when I saw him stepping inside. Closing the door halfway behind him, my breath caught in my throat. A minute later, I heard the sound of another door open. Emily's. She walked out quietly, barefoot, wearing a long t-shirt that brushed her knees. Without hesitation, she slipped into the same bathroom. The door clicked shut. My whole body went cold. I stood frozen in the hallway, staring at that closed door, waiting for something. A voice, a sound, an explanation. But there was only silence. Minutes passed, then an hour, then two. I went downstairs, sat on the couch, and stared at the family photos on the wall. Pictures of Emily and me at the beach, Mom holding us both in her arms, Dad smiling behind the camera. I thought of how proud they were of the life I'd built of us. I thought of how much Emily had meant to me, and how Mark had been my anchor through everything. Now both of them were behind that door. When the clock struck 3 a.m., I still couldn't move. I sat there, trembling, every heartbeat echoing like thunder in my chest. What do you do when the two people you love most in the world betray you in the same breath? I didn't have an answer. The next morning, the sun felt cruel, too bright, too warm for what I'd seen. Mark was already downstairs, making coffee when I came into the kitchen. His hair was damp, like he'd just showered, and he smiled at me like nothing had happened. "Morning," he said, sliding a mug toward me. "Morning," I whispered, wrapping my hands around the cup to stop them from shaking. I wanted to ask why. I wanted to scream, to throw that mug across the room. But instead, I smiled that polite, hollow kind of smile that women wear when they're breaking apart inside. Emily came in a few minutes later, her hair up in a messy bun. She looked exhausted. When our eyes met, she froze for half a second, then forced a smile. "Morning," she murmured. The air between us crackled. I watched her reach for the fridge, watched her hand tremble slightly on the handle. I wondered if Mark had seen it too. No one said anything else that day. I went through the motions, helping Mum with the seating chart, tasting cake samples, smiling for photos. But every sound, every movement in the house felt magnified. When Mark laughed with Dad, my jaw clenched. When Emily brushed past him to hand him a glass, I felt my stomach twist. I tried to tell myself I didn't know anything for sure, that I hadn't seen them doing anything, but I had seen enough, and sometimes enough is worse than proof. That night was the rehearsal dinner. Everyone gathered in the backyard, fairy lights glowing, laughter echoing over soft music. I sat beside Mark, smiling when I was supposed to, pretending my chest wasn't splitting open, when Emily stood to give a toast. She looked right at me. "To my sister," she said, voice trembling slightly. "You've been my role model, my protector, my best friend. I wouldn't be who I am without you." Everyone clapped. I smiled, but under the table, my hands were shaking so hard I had to clench them into fists after dinner. People lingered, slow dancing under the lights. I couldn't take it anymore. I slipped away, walking down the path toward the guest house at the edge of the yard. I needed to breathe, to think. I don't know how long I was gone before I heard the footsteps. Quiet, hesitant, but familiar. I turned, and there she was. "Emily, hey," she said softly. "Hey." She looked like she'd been crying. "I need to tell you something," she whispered. My throat tightened. "Then tell me." But before she could speak, we heard another sound, another set of footsteps. Mark, he froze when he saw us. The look on his face said everything. Emily's eyes darted between us, panic flashing across her features. Don't," I said sharply. "Don't lie. Not right now." Mark opened his mouth, then closed it again. He looked like a man trying to hold on to something that had already fallen apart. "Please," he said finally. "Can we talk inside?" "No," I said. My voice cracked, but I didn't care. "You talk here. Both of you?" Emily's lip trembled. It wasn't supposed to happen. My stomach dropped. What tears filled her eyes. "I didn't mean to. We were drunk. After the engagement party. You went upstairs early." "Stop." I shook my head, covering my ears like a child. "Just stop." Mark stepped forward. "It was one time. It didn't mean anything." I laughed, a sound that didn't sound like me, didn't mean anything. Emily was crying now, whispering, "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry," over and over. I looked at her, my little sister, the person I'd protected from bullies, from heartbreak, from every bad decision, and I didn't recognize her. I thought I'd forgiven a lot of things in my life. I said quietly, "But this I can't." Mark reached out to touch me, and I stepped back. "Don't." He froze, hand still in the air, the same hand that had once felt like safety. "Get out," I whispered. "Where am I supposed to? I don't care. Just get out." He hesitated, then turned and walked toward the main house. Emily stood there for a moment, tears streaking down her face. "Please don't hate me," she whispered. I met her eyes. "You took everything from me." Then I walked past her. That night, I packed my bag. I didn't tell anyone I was leaving. I just drove past the old church, the cornfields, the gas station that still had the same flickering sign from when we were kids. When I finally stopped, it was almost dawn. I pulled over by a lake, rolled down the window, and just let myself cry. For the first time in years, I didn't know who I was without them, without him, without her. But I knew one thing. When people say betrayal feels like heartbreak, they're wrong. It feels like drowning, quiet, slow, and the cruelest part is realizing the people you trusted most were the ones holding you underwater.